Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of We Create EDU. We have a very special guest with us, Step Back History is on. I am Jacqueline, and I run a channel called SciJoy. It's a hands-on science channel, and I'm also joined by Betty.
Oh, hi. I have not thought this through. It's been a while. I'm Betty. I run a channel called Articulations, and it's about art. So now I'm going to introduce Tristan.
Hey everybody, my name is Tristan. I do a YouTube channel, basically an animated education channel about history called Step Back History. It's occasionally pretty good, so it's worth checking out once in a while.
It's like always really good.
So what made you want to start this YouTube channel?
Oh my, well, okay, this is a long story. I got into YouTube back in like the 2006, 2007 days where you made video responses and things like that. After about that, with 800 subscribers and an average of about 4 or 5 views for video, I realized whatever it was I was doing wasn't working out. So I closed down that channel around maybe the spring of 2015. And I still have very much a Me Too attitude, where every time I see somebody doing something cool, I usually want to do it myself. And I'm really fascinated and really interested in public history, or the history for everyone. And when those two ideas clashed into each other, I pushed out Step Back History. I did a lot of research before I made even my first video. I got to talk to some people and such, and I guess I've just been riding the surprising success that it's been ever since.
And
I guess I didn't answer the question.
No.
Yeah, you did. Sorry, I was unmuting myself. What made, did you have any animation background at all before you started your channel?
Not even a little bit. I maybe was like a compulsive doodler, but what really made me think that this was like something I could even possibly consider was when I did a Skype call with a really, really big YouTuber, and he gave me the sage advice that he used like not even PowerPoint, but like Google Drive's default PowerPoint software to make his videos, and he was like writing at like 300,000 or 400,000 subscribers with that, and I was like, all right, well, if you can do it like that, and if CGP Grey can draw stick figures, I feel like I could figure out how to make this work.
Well, I think in probably all those cases, it's the story that you guys tell. And I also think the cool things you do in your videos is little Easter eggs, and it's not just like going along exactly with word for word the script. And I think that's what makes it so entertaining for people.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So how do you pick which topics you think like you should present, what's going to be entertaining and what's going to be valuable to your audience?
So I've developed a checklist over the months now. Now, I used to have like a gut feeling about it, and that has led to a few flop videos, or at least videos that didn't seem to fit the thing that I was going for. So I made myself a checklist of things that I think make a successful Step Back video. It's stuff like, does it fit the whole motto of seeing history sideways? Does it fit that feeling of like vujade, like making the familiar seem unfamiliar? Or can I use it in a classroom? Is there a collaboration that would make this video really good? Is there a time I could release it that would be really good? Things like that. And every one of my ideas, whenever they come across either randomly listening to podcasts, in lecture, a lot of random optional but actually mandatory lectures over at the history department, that you jot down the occasional idea, and then I run it through this, and the highest rated ones go up to the top, and the lower ones maybe get put off for later.
And I think you shared that checklist with people in the Slack, correct?
Yes, it's still publicly available. It's the one I still use, but like now, if you were to check it today, it has a whole bunch of like my personal stuff that comes from like my channel analytics. Like you could use 99% of it. The stuff about like what types of history, like what time periods and what kind of historical themes are more interesting to my viewers or not is not exactly useful for most people, but the rest of it would be. If you're doing education.
Do you think you'd ever, yeah. Do you think you'd ever put out like polls and surveys and things if you had the new community tab to pick topics for your channel?
If so what I've found is in my topic scoring process is that it tends to have veins. Like there's maybe like right at the moment I'm at like, you know, videos that have 17 points, which means nothing really, but there are 3 videos that have 17 points. So maybe if I get the community tab, I would set something up to do a kind of choice between 3 of those and have that at any given time, like kind of choose amongst the best ideas that I have going. But the data that I get that helps make my decisions are made from a channel survey that I've been running now for more or less the entire length of the channel.
Sorry, what was my question? Oh, how do you run your survey? Do you just do like a survey monkey type of thing, or is this like a regular polling thing you do?
It's a Google form.
Oh, okay.
There's always a link on my channel.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a link in all the descriptions of my videos for people to check out. And I probably had maybe about 100 to 106 people fill it out. It's not like, you know, I get like maybe 1 respondent every few weeks or so. And it's just kind of, I'm thinking I might reboot it for next year, but for the most part, it's a kind of quiet thing that goes in the background at all times.
Okay.
And you recently launched Patreon, right?
Yes, I'm actually getting, just on October 1st, got my 2nd round of payments from it.
Nice.
Very cool. So that's going pretty, I think your launch went really well, didn't it?
I mean, deceptively well. I have about 10 patrons, which is really nice. That total up to about $123 of USD a month. Now, I do have to mention that, to be transparent, a significant amount of that is my parents that I gave it to, and they decided to really become angel investors. But yeah, it's still fairly successful, and I still declare that a win.
Yeah, and hopefully you can also put stuff in there if you ever need feedback about what topics or anything. I know a lot of other creators try and use their patrons as their sounding board.
Oh yeah, I still do. I do that already. I do it all the time.
And I think we have a couple questions from the chat. What we just make sound stuff, or we have talking head stuff too? I.e., would you consider branching out of animation and using the creator space?
So the creator space seems like it's really interesting for the kind of work I'd be interested in doing. I'm not sure, like I've tried to do face videos before, and I'm not sure if I have the, if I were to do it, I would have to practice a lot. And I'd have to, you know, I do the animation for an extent to make life a lot easier, to make my audio much better, to prepare ahead of time. But I also do it to avoid a certain type of hate comment that I would have to think through before I went in front of a camera regularly. Anyway.
Yeah, and I think it's also a good point that you said you'd have to practice a lot. Like I have gotten noticeably a lot better, but you're coming at it from a standpoint of, instead of I was 0 subscribers up to now, you're coming at, I have a lot of people that already know my animation and this quality, and you would have to start like a new kind of thing with that many people watching you, right? So it's kind of different.
Yeah, I would think that I wouldn't do it unless I saw a value in it. If there was something that made my videos better for having me do it, like the space is really interesting. It's also really far away. So if I was going to do it, I would probably have to have some really big thing, maybe a collaboration with like a big, like some sort of in-face channel or something like that might be the case that I would do something like that. But they're actually just setting up now a Whisper booth, which means that I might consider going to Toronto for the sake of like recording scripts or something, to have a nice like studio with foam and everything.
And do you want to talk about your trip now that we brought it? And because the next question was, what was your favorite thing about your trip? So do you want to tell people about your journeys to the YouTube space?
Sure. So one of the strange things about Toronto's YouTube space is that it's located on the campus of a community college called George Brown.
Woo. I didn't actually go there.
But George Brown had a bunch of extra rules. And so while most people can actually do an orientation to the space online, my friend Will just did it too, and he was just able to fill out one for the Munich office or Berlin office, and it was super easy. But I had to actually go. And then also the space holds a monthly like networking event for people who have 1,000+ subscribers. So I spent the first, I did a bunch of other stuff because I was also in Toronto for a wedding and catching up with some of my college buddies and things like that. But I went to the space, and the first started out with like the 10,000 subscriber plus room of people, which, you know, I was like, I felt all special because we got to come here. And then I realized that I'm in a room full of like, you know, 25, 30 people that all have over 10,000 subscribers. And then we did a little icebreaker where I realized that many of them have far more than that, that I was among the smaller channels in the room. And so, you know, they did this little icebreaker where they just kind of got us a feel for who's in the room and what do they do. I was the only education channel. I was the only channel. There's a lot of like Instagram models and like lifestyle and fan theories and all sorts of things like that. It was a lot of interesting work that I was just like, okay, like it's a completely different world, and I realized that like I am not in with like mainstream YouTube culture, I guess. And then they had us sit through this like regular lecture seminar type thing with a lot of corporate videos and a lot of like, you know, like just, you know, PowerPoint presentations and, you know, all the things you would expect when you're getting orientation to tell you how to not break the $10,000 camera.
So you went to the YouTube space, and instead of having like really well done, good YouTube videos to show you how to do it, it was like boring presentations.
Well, they had like this. They had this one video that was like, I think it was like Google's main video. That's like, you are a creator, and it was very much like your typical like Google YouTube PR video. Like, you remember like the YouTube hero video? It was very much like that kind of a feel. Yeah. Then there was a bit of a, you know, guy talking with a PowerPoint in the background that says the words, and, you know, then there was a Q&A, and I should have grabbed it, but they did like one of those things where like, we have 5 prizes, and the 5 people who put their hand up to answer a question win a thing. And it's a Google space or a YouTube space branded Google Cardboard, and I got that because I remembered the number 72 hours, I guess. And they gave you like an orientation of how to book the space and everything like that. And I guess the other information is that they give you a point of contact. So they give you a person who works at the space, and they say that, you know, I have their email address now, and I guess to talk to them about whatever it is I need, because a lot of their requirements for like were rather open, except they were like, there's a lot of things that are kind of difficult to work around, like, you know, no guns, no animals unless it's cleared first. Like, you can't bring a car in, like, you know, all the things that you wouldn't expect in a normal business environment. But I guess it's a movie studio, so.
I thought it would be like, just there's no guns in this country, period, is usually the case.
It's only true to an extent. But then also we went on a tour of the 2 studios, and I had to go to the bathroom, so I actually missed one of them. But then I came back, they showed me the Whisper studio, which was nice, and I did a little Snapchat from in the booth. It was pretty fun. And then I got to go back and look at the other room, and they had their Studio A. It's not like it's like an unfurnished space that you have to bring in and do everything yourself. They actually like have set designers come in every quarter or so and revamp the room. So it was this very pretty, very set up looking room. and I gotta check it out. And then we did, you know, hors d'oeuvres and beers, and then all of the 1,000 to 10,000 or people who had already unlocked the space started showing up, and then it was kind of just like a very strange networking event with a lot of people who ranged from like quiet guy who does videos about, you know, Star Wars fan theories all the way to fairly sloshed, I believe, Instagram model. Like it was a very, I ended up having a conversation for about 10 minutes with like a stunt man.
Cool.
And like a person who is like a professional voiceover actor. Like it was a very, you know, usually when you go to a party or something like that, you can read the room, and I was it was very difficult to try to figure out like, how do I talk to all of these people in different ways? It was fun though.
Did you take your new business cards and hand them out to a bunch of people?
I did. It was really fun. I got a lot of compliments on it, and I got a lot of other people's business cards too.
Do you have it with you right now?
I do. Oh, I do. I can
okay.
just.
See, I don't think you might have shown other people, but I haven't seen it.
I put it in the We Create EDU Slack, but that's not everybody who comes on this. So.
Yeah, I turned it off for like 2 months, so I just
Some days there's a couple messages, and some days there's like 60 messages. So
yeah.
So good old Vistaprint. Not that I shill for them or anything like that, but
sponsor.
They're literally like Vistaprint. They're not the best site that makes business cards online. They're just the only one. So I got these.
Oh, cute. Nice.
And they're actually made with like metallic ink and stuff. And then on the back, I got little.
Nice.
So I did that. I have about 500 of these now. So.
Nice.
Well, now if you go to VidCon, you'll have them already.
Are you planning on going this year, or
That's
next
the
year?
plan.
Whenever it is. Okay.
This is the VidCon I'm going to try to go to. I am kind of in a weird situation because like I don't think I'm like a capital N nerd fighter person. So I'm going to try to find a way to go to VidCon and have fun, but not be part of the screaming fans.
Can I just tell you something? I was totally you. Like 2 years ago when I never went, like, because like, I think I was telling Jacqueline, like, I don't know YouTubers, like, as in like, I know who John and Hank are, and I've watched some educational YouTubers, and like, the first time I went to VidCon, there were maybe like 5 people in the featured creator list that I've even heard of. And I was like, I think I made a huge mistake. But I didn't. So, like, obviously not everybody has the exact same experience. Like some people, maybe it's not their thing, period. I still don't really like the screaminess, but they've really, I think, reprogrammed VidCon to not really, like this past year, I don't think I really heard anybody screaming, or if it happened, it was somewhere else.
Yeah, I'd really like to go for like the industry convention aspect to it, and meet with kind of our tribe of people that we've been building up, and hand out some cards, shake some hands, get some introductions, that kind of stuff. That's the main thing I'm there for.
Yeah, it is definitely worth it to do that. But if you can, don't get the community, get at least the creator pass, or else you're going to be with all the screamy people. Screamy people don't hang out on the second floor.
Do you have to be special to get the creator pass? Is it like
no,
anyone?
It just costs more.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if I'm going to be flying to the other side of the continent, I think I might as well, pay for the better ticket.
If you get like an early ticket, I think it's like $50 more in the beginning. Later on, if you get it like too late, then it goes up. But in the beginning, I think it doesn't even make that much of a difference.
Yeah, you said ICG pass.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I think you get a discount for that too. So it shouldn't be too big of a difference between the two. But definitely, I would say creators. That's how I met most of the people that are on We Create EDU. Well, I met Betty in Alabama.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But everyone else, I think, pretty much was at VidCon, and some things that we're going to be talking about on SciJoy that's kind of secret projects, like really good things for us, came out of doing VidCon this past year and meeting people and talking to them. And always seeing people face to face is great. I actually went up to the New York YouTube space recently, and for the PBS meetup, and a lot of the PBS hosts remembered me from seeing me at VidCon and other things, but which was really cool. I don't think like they're not going to ask me to be a PBS host, but just having those connections. And then I got to talk up you guys. I got to talk to Mike Rignetta about soliloquy and how he does the welcome potatoes, because he did the first in this thing. And I told him all about Liz's podcast, so hopefully he's listening to that now. And then Danny, that we had on last time, really wanted to talk to Leslie, so I tried to like mesh them together. So always remember, if you're doing these things, to try and bring up other We Create EDU people and make connections for them if you can.
Yep, I definitely think that I would have done something. I would have gone for that, because I would drop literally everything in my life if PBS came to me. But they're like the thing I idolize right now. They're the kind of, what they're doing is what I want to be doing in like the next 5 to 10 years, if I can get away with it.
Tristan, do you want to talk a bit about like your background? Because you like mentioned that you work in a history department, and sort of like what that is and how that relates to what you do.
Sure. It is the reason I both make, and it's also the reason why I don't get to make as often videos. So I mean, like, the long story short is I am a PhD student at the University of Western Ontario. I'm not sure how public I'm about that. Well, I guess it's public now. I'm a PhD student at the University of Western Ontario, which is, to the Americans, probably sounds like the most like low-down university ever, but it's, I think, in the top 10 of Canada. I'm not sure. It is a solidly okay school to go to. In Canada,
it's pretty well known. I mean, although I do live pretty close to where you are.
Yeah, it's a really good school to go if you want to be a doctor. Now, I want to be a historian, so you can take it that way. But I have 2 master's degrees in American Studies and U.S. History, and all of it comes from a STEM where I actually barely passed high school. I had about a D average in high school, and turns out it's because I had ADHD, and I always had issues with having jobs where I would have to, or having work where the only way to get the information was to sit and read a textbook for hours and hours on end. And as somebody who has trouble paying attention to focusing on things for long periods of time, that really held me back. And so another part of what I want to make videos is because I feel like information needs to come in different forms for different types of learners. And I guess that's like the best stuff I can come out with my background that would help me, or would have spurred making the channel anyway.
So are you like a physics girl where you kind of think back to a younger version of you and you're like, this would have helped younger me?
I mean, I hope so. Younger me wanted to be a record producer and a rock star, so I might have had to do a few other things to fix them first. But you know, it definitely would have helped me in this kind of period of my life after I had, like, you know, burnt out of high school, and I was, you know, probably set to be the Tim Hortons barista for the rest of my days. But I had to like turn myself around, and that would have helped me like make a decision faster. And probably would have been like, I don't know, maybe. I hope so. I mean, I never had trouble in history class. It was more everything else. But
so when you were taught history, did they teach you like it by the dates, or did they teach you it more like story form, kind of like you're doing?
Well, this is the central problem of history. Betty, you're Canadian as well, so you'll know this, and that is. And it's true of all real history education under the post-secondary level, which is that it's not exactly for education purposes. It's very much a decision. It's very much for creating, as like I think the curriculum says, like patriotic participants in the consumer capitalist economy. So like it's not so much for education as it is like a nation building project. So of course I spent my high school, being interested in things, but also hearing like, oh, World War One, Canada was World War One, the most important thing to ever happen in world history, and Canada like single-handedly beat the Germans. And
Of course, doesn't everybody know this?
yeah, and just like all of these things, and it's interesting to start. But I think the other thing too is that I went on a lot of road trips when I was a kid, and I saw a lot of these things up front. So I've like been to a lot of states, and I've been to a lot of provinces, and I've seen the history, and I think that I just had a lot of different things come together that really pushed me to go. But the main thing that I think would drive the passion is just take a post-secondary history course, because it's so different from what you learn in high school, where they're teaching either to a test, in the US to the SATs, or whatever, the AP history tests of some
AP,
kind.
yeah.
And then also the whole idea to create patriots and stuff like that. Like history is one of the most like politically embattled topics in high school level stuff, and so you really don't get out of like the mess until you're learning it for the sake of like actual education, and that makes me a little sad. And that's kind of why I want to do history education, because it's at least gives you something that's not like just constantly telling you that your country is amazing and wars are important and all these things.
Yeah, it's funny because like sort of what a lot of the research I do at the art gallery is ostensibly history, and one of the tours I've been developing is sort of looking at like First Nations Canadian history, and that is definitely not a place where you go, your country is amazing. That is a place where you go, this country is really, really screwed up, and how come we didn't learn about this in high school? And we really should, but that goes against the narrative of this is a great place. So
yeah, they go from our best friends that we traded beaver pelts to not existing, to the Riel Rebellion, to not existing. That's basically the story, and that's disgusting. But that's because it's Canada trying to look the other way, because they have a nation to build here.
Yeah, so
But it doesn't build better citizens, though. That's the sad part. It may be more patriotic, but not better citizens.
Well, it is funny because it's like that tour I do is really is not really controversial. It's one of the most controversial tours I've ever done. Like, I've talked about like really sensitive issues, like because a lot of art history is like, oh, like babies being murdered in a Bible scene or something, which most people don't comment about. But when I talk about sort of like First Nations history, I get a lot of Canadians who are really angry at me. But then it's funny because to like outsiders, like when we get tourists from like US or other countries, they're like, oh wow, this is so interesting. But like it's funny because I do have like almost all of the negative feedback I have is from Canadians. It's almost like, how could you talk about our country in such a terrible way or something? And it's like, because it's the reality. But
yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head about why some of the, I guess, like the more activist reasons why I started Step Back History, and that is there is a lot of history that is grotesque, for really sad reasons, brushed under the table. I did a video a while back on the Colfax Massacre, which is something that currently in Louisiana has a plaque that says that it doesn't call it the massacre, it calls it like the Colfax incident. And it mainly wants to point out that it was the end of carpetbagger rule in the South, which is a whole thing in Southern history about when Northerners were running the South after the Civil War and being all nasty and corrupt. But it was actually like this extremely racist hate mob that descended on a church and killed a whole bunch of people in order to get the Democrats back in power and for white supremacy to rule. And those are the kinds of stories that, is not going to make the Louisiana AP history test. And so I'd like to have it out there, but also have it in the fun, cartoony way so that, someone who's 16, 17 can come across it, be entertained, and be like, oh my, this is like a thing that happened in the country I live in.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely important, that kind of stuff that you're doing. And sad that sometimes we have to come out and put these on YouTube channels and things like that in order, because it's too hard to try and change the actual curriculum or fight any of that. So this is an easier way to get that out there.
It's really fun. I mean, in one way it's terrible, but another way, hey, it's a niche that now I'm building a business upon. So, you know, who knows?
So
do you want?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh. I was just gonna say, do you want to talk about like your business plans and the different things you've learned since you started your channel?
Sure. Trying to think how we would organize this. So the first thing that I would say, if I were to give advice to anybody who was thinking of starting a channel today, there's a couple things that I would say, and that is go in with a plan. I feel like there are a lot of channels out there that are good content, smart people, endearing people, but they kind of started a channel with no goal in mind. They just kind of started a channel for the sake of starting a channel. And you see them try to find the thing that will find their audience, and they try this, they try that, and it just doesn't seem to latch onto something. And I think that the main thing that you should do, if you think you're in that situation, if you feel that you're in that situation as well, or if you're considering starting a channel, is to really, instead of being a channel that starts with everything at once and then finds its things that work over time, be a channel that does one thing and branch out as you have more success. So find a thing that you'd be really good at doing and start with that. And that's what I want to do. I don't plan on stretching out until my work life changes, because as I'm a PhD student, I'm kind of I've heard it's a lot of time to become a doctor. It's a rumor out there somewhere. So I have, but there is one advantage to being a PhD student, and it's not just that I get to live and do all egg caddy stuff all day, but also the way that grad school works is that you basically get a regular income that doesn't require a lot of hours of actual work. So like I have a job that I get to work for mostly at home for about 10 hours a week. That makes me a regular income, not a great income, and definitely not in the summertime, but enough to survive. Luckily, I'm married to somebody who makes a good amount of money, so we're okay on that front. But it does mean that Hi, Kelly. She's gonna be mad at me later on that one, but but for a 4-year period, I have reliable, doable income, and that is really, really helpful for starting a YouTube channel, because I have a lot of time to invest in things, usually anyway. This semester, not so much, but I have a lot of free wiggle room, I should say, because I might work 14 hours a day, but I work from home, so there's the thing. And then I can use that to build a business, to build this YouTube channel, to build everything else. And hopefully, my plan is, if I can get myself to a happy place by the end of that 4-year contract, which for me will be in 2019, then I can at least get myself to something where I can start a baseline that I can build up from. And I'm hoping that that'll work for me. And other business plans would involve the fact that to write a dissertation means writing a book. So hopefully I'll have an audience of Step Back fans that I could turn my dissertation into a book, sell it to them, maybe kickstart a advance for the next one, something like that. There's a bunch of possible ways that I can build a business out of this, even including applying for grants from the government and things like that, that I could probably stitch together to make myself a living. And of course, I could always be a stay-at-home dad for the most part if I had kids, or just a stay-at-home husband, I guess the term would be.
Sorry, I was reading some of the comments on the side.
Sorry, go ahead.
Did you have a question, Betty?
Oh no, I was just gonna ask. I guess other than Kelly, like other people, like do other people in your family know about your channel, and or like if so, like have they like expressed how they feel about it or any of their opinions about it?
I have shouted my channel's name to everybody I know. And family, friends, maybe sometimes even enemies, you never know. Even sometimes my students, I've actually used my own videos as like teaching aids in class and stuff like that.
Good.
And for the most part, it's been very supportive. My parents are super happy with it. My mom like shows everybody at her office and all that kind of like embarrassing stuff that you'd feel you only applies when you're 6. My supervisor, my PhD supervisor, asks about it about maybe every week, every time I see him anyway. He's really proud. He thinks it's a really good idea. History has a communication issue, and so the fact that I'm like out there being an entrepreneurial history communicator is really appealing to them, because that's like what the field wants, and also I'm applying for I'm pursuing a career that's not just the tenure track professor, which they're finding very exciting. And the department even has been really supportive. And like the communications from the department have been like, using the channel to kind of show off the kind of work that's going on here at Western. So they're kind of, trying to get in and get some credit for fostering this, which, is rightly deserved.
Fantastic.
Would you ever be like a science communicator, a history communicator for them, kind of like Emily Grassley is for the museum? Would you ever want to do that?
I feel like the history department here has a fairly good communication staff. We do have a public history program that runs itself, but we also don't have a big archive. We have a small medical artifact archive that isn't that amazing, but it's pretty impressive, but like it's not like a museum. It's like a little display case in our hallway. What I would like, it would be cool if maybe a museum wanted to make that kind of deal with me. Right now, that's not on the table. But if that came up, especially if, I don't know, I moved closer to the ROM or something, then, who knows what'll happen.
That's the Royal Ontario Museum.
It's the biggest museum in the country, I think.
Is it bigger than the National Art Gallery in Ottawa, or?
I mean, I don't know as far as art goes, but it's the biggest museum that holds old things.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's one of those.
It's got mummies. It's got dinosaurs. It's great.
Yeah. Yes.
So
we should all go.
Do you get access to cool resources being a PhD student?
I mean, what really helps is that being a PhD student means that I can check out books out of a university library, and I can check out books for like 3 or 4 months at a time, which is really nice. I have the opportunity to go to a lot of talks, like a lot of guest lecturers come in and things like that, and I get to sit and listen to their lectures and get ideas and have conversations with other people who are really, really intelligent, have tons of advanced degrees, and are also passionate about history. So that's really inspirational, and I hope that I can keep the channel running without that Kindle, because I'm going to have to at some point.
Would you ever want to go do talks? Like, would that be part of your business plan?
I would love to integrate some sort of talk into, like, I remember it in my PhD application. I just remember saying it because it's so funny to write that. I wanted to try to occupy a space for history that I wrote Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson and Dr. William Nye do for history, or for the STEM fields. And so if I could weasel my way into that position, I'd love to go and do talks. I definitely am interested in doing, like, not even getting paid to do, like, academic lectures at, like, public history conferences about history communication, because there are a few of those that happen.
That's really cool. I didn't know that. I don't know much about the world of history and conferences and stuff that they have. That's pretty cool. So are they all over the place, the ones you would go to, or pretty much ones in Canada?
I mean, I'm technically a U.S. historian, so I would probably be better off. But when it comes to public works and public history communication, I imagine there are a few of these organizations, and they might have an annual conference, and depending upon what country they're based out of, it might be in different parts. Like I think the one that's next year is in Indianapolis, which, you know, is often the hinterlands of Indiana, a state that nothing important happens in, and nobody important in my life is from. And then, you know, I did see one that was like, the joke is my wife's from Indiana. There's like a...
Yeah, she's commenting.
She called you a jerk.
But there's also one that was in Honduras, which was fun. And I imagine that if I did enough research, there's probably a European one that meets in Europe once a year. And if I could get in, if I get into that, there is some money at the university for me to actually travel to those conferences. And if I like, most PhD students go to conferences to talk about their research topic. My research topic is one that doesn't really exist in most history circles. So if I just use like my resources and my travel budget to go to conferences like VidCon or to go to academic conferences about history communication, I feel like that would be a better use of my resources.
That's a good point. Would you mind talking about collabs at all? I know we had some discussions in the Slack today, but good
Sure.
collabs, bad collabs, because you've done a bunch of them. So how should people approach collabs and how shouldn't they? And can you tell us about some of the ones you did and why?
Okay, so the main thing about collaborations that I choose, and it's Jonathan from the Soliloquy channel has a pretty good policy on this, and that is he only does a collaboration video when it is going to improve the video is going to be better for having both parts in it, and it's not just going to be a collaboration for the sake of a collaboration, because those don't. I feel like they don't result in good videos, and they don't result in good traffic going to people like that or going to each other's work. If you're going to approach somebody about doing a collaboration, be tactful. It's not so much that you should do a collaboration with somebody you've never met. It should be that when a video idea comes up, you can think, oh, there's like a channel that I know that would be a good collaboration with. Like, it's not so much like if you're going to come out of the cold and say, I don't know you, but I want to do a collaboration, you should have like an elevator pitch. Like, you should know what you want to do, not just, should we do a collaboration? Because that makes you sound like you're basically asking for us to give you subscribers. Like, that's the question. The other option is, of course, do collaborations with your friends, because they're much more fun and you end up really getting to know each other's styles. And like, the most successful collaborations that I've had have been with my good friends, and I feel like they're much better off for it because, yeah, we work together already, and we create EDU or Facebook or whatnot.
Yeah, I feel like. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
No,
I was just gonna say, I feel like I remember like in the beginning, like first of all, like collab videos are really hard to do even when you are friends with someone. I feel like in the beginning, like when I first started, obviously I didn't know anybody, but I just got my friends like in real life to like, you know, be in my videos, because since at that point I didn't know anybody on YouTube yet. And like, I felt like that was really fun. And it's just like, yeah, like I think people don't really, like you kind of have to start somewhere. And I think it's very hard to ask somebody, if like you've never ever done a collab video with anybody before, to just all of a sudden go find like a super big or super successful person and try to do something with them. Like, I feel like everybody should at least start off with like something small first, whether it's just doing something with your friends or just trying things out before you try to jump into anything.
Yeah, or at least have a few steps. Like, if you really want to do a collaboration with big channel A, don't email them saying, I want to do a collaboration. You know what's the best way to do things? And this happens, think about it like almost like job hunting. You don't just email random people and say, give me a job. You have to, the best way to actually get in with people is to do, like an actual networking, like reach out to people. I found that people of surprisingly huge channels have given me the time of day and talked to me and given me like good, well thought out advice, and have become, in some cases, like friends of mine, acquaintances at the very least, because I didn't reach out to them to ask for collaboration. I reached them to ask them for advice on making videos. And if there's anything, like me coming on We Create EDU's stream today has shown, people love talking about themselves and about the stuff they're doing. And so, you gotta like, that's a good way to get in and like make friends. And then, you make collaborations with your friends. If you have a friend with a giant channel and you guys are close buddies, they're gonna do something for you because they like you, you like them, and that's what friends do. But like, just like, we were dealing with a unnamed person who was just PMing people, PMing a few of us and just saying, can I have a collaboration or a shout out? And the channel's like, it was difficult because the channel is run by someone who's obviously like 12 or 13 years old. And we were all like, how do you be nice to someone like this?
You're probably not going to get any less of that going forward.
Yeah, it's got to be very difficult. The larger you get, the more people are going to want from you, whether it's somebody wants you to be in the network or collaborate with them or shout out their names or whatever. More and more people are going to want things from you. But I think you make an excellent point, and that's why going to VidCon and just talking to some of these people and networking, or going to the YouTube space or meetups, and I think it's really important. Like, be a part of somebody's community before you ask something from them. Either provide value or be a part of their community, or both.
Yeah, I always think of it like, so one of the, like, if you think of yourself as a creative person, you are, if you are on YouTube, you are a creator of intellectual property. You are a creative, you're an artist, which means that every video you make is going to be a property. It's going to be part of your asset portfolio from the day you make it until 70 years after you die. It's going to be generating revenue, or at least being relevant to your work. If you are proposing a collaboration, you're not just, it's not like we're retweeting your video. It is a collaborative business project together. That means that our channels will be known as being linked in some small way forever, theoretically. And you have to be careful about those decisions. You can't just come out of the blue about a video, because these things require, like, videos require a bit of forethought in that sense.
Yeah.
And it's usually a lot more effort to do a collab than just your own video.
Some of us have been trying to do one for like 2 years. But anyway,
the collaboration I did with Jonathan that came out in July started in April. Actually, probably started in March.
That sounds like a fast process.
Yeah. I have one that I started about this time last year that might start up sometime next year.
Interesting.
Wow.
So,
looking forward to it.
They're big things. They're big projects. They throw off your entire release schedule, so they have to be worth the effort. And if you're going to collaborate with somebody to make a video, you have to make sure that you're either making something really great for a channel that you really believe in and putting it on their channel, like what I did when I made the video with Anais about a month ago.
Yeah.
Or it's something where you feel like your audience and their audience are aligned enough in interest that you two are going to make something that will be better than just you two making individual videos, and that you're both going to get a lot out of the deal. It's a business deal in some ways.
Yeah.
And I think going back to your earlier point, when you're trying to figure out what your channel is about, I think you want to stick with whatever your unique message is. And you probably have 2 channels with different messages or paths, and sometimes it's hard to merge those together, even if you think the other person's channel is awesome. So I think that's another thing to take into consideration when you're doing those kind of things. Does it take away from what you're trying to do? even
Luckily,
if
I
it's
have
really cool.
Yeah, luckily I have the collaboration opportunity of no matter what topic anybody does in the EDU realm, I can attach history of before it, and then there you go.
That's a good strategy.
Yeah, actually, I was wondering. So, was there a reason you decided, or you decided to go into U.S. history? Like, what about that attracted you more than like European history or like African history or some other history? Or did you just go, "This looks good"?
It could be a combination of a few things. One is that I had a really good U.S. history teacher in my undergrad, so at Bishop's over in like a tiny town in Quebec. We had a really good U.S. history teacher, but also I'm a Canadian, and Canadians spend most of their lives very, very aware that the United States is very close by.
What?
And
we have to build a wall.
It's true. And also, my family were really big on road trips, and so I've actually been to 45 of the U.S. states.
Whoa.
And I've seen I've seen Fort Sumter, I've seen like Venice Beach and Miami and like all of these like crazy places, and like New Orleans, and so like I've spent a lot of time and seen a lot of the United States, and I think that I'm also just kind of attracted to the idea that it's a country that's founded on ideals and political ideology rather than like a lineage of rulers and kings, which for better or worse leads America to make really interesting historical decisions that I find interesting.
Still. And we're still making them.
It's very interesting.
Would you want to travel around again and video stuff? Would you ever want to do that, or would you want to stick still with the animation? Do you think that's a better way to tell your story?
Well, I think you just gave me a really good idea if I ever go out on something again. I haven't been on weirdly enough, because of the timing of the start of Step Back, the only trips I've been on have been like all-inclusive resort vacation trips, because like we went to Mexico and we went to my honeymoon a few months ago, and so that didn't come off cross. But now, because of my wonderful Patreon patrons, I actually am going to get a video camera. So maybe I should do that the next time I go on a nice far off adventure. And
I don't know if you'd want to do this, but if you wanted to do a 360 video of a place, I know at least the New York YouTube space the only cameras they'll let you take are the 360 cameras. So if you wanted to ever go to a place and have somebody be able to kind of, use their Google glasses or whatever and walk around it sort of, they will probably let you take a 360 camera.
Oh man, you're giving me so many ideas, because I know the YouTube space in Toronto also does 360 cameras.
So just things that I know that you kind of got your niche down, and now you're doing Illustrator and After Effects and stuff. But if you ever wanted to switch it up, it's a possibility.
Yeah, you're giving me too many good ideas. I'm gonna have to. Kelly, you're listening. Write this stuff down.
Fantastic.
Do you have any advice for animators that are watching this? Because I think you are the first animator we have on here. I mean, I say I animate, but it's barely, and only parts of videos.
I guess I have a little bit of advice. I hesitate to call myself an animator per se. My videos are more like really fast slideshows in most senses. But I would say a couple things, and that is, take a look at my channel, especially look at my first video. Go and look at Alternate History Hub's first video. Look at CGP Gray's first video, and look at Jabsy's first video. You do not have to be very good at drawing to get started at this. And as someone who came completely from like the realm of like doodling and like the marginalia of my notebooks, I started with like literally just squares and circles and cloud shapes off of the the default PowerPoint setup, and I managed to make something interesting, or at least something that passes for a silhouette of a person. You can, as you make more videos, as you do more stuff, you do like learn to get better at it over time. And so starting from a bad place, like realize that every major channel has a really ugly first video they hope you don't watch. And I think that when it comes to animation, the hardest thing to do and the most important thing to do is to just start playing with stuff and start. Like it's one of those things that sounds like easy advice, but really it feels like, I feel like the animation white page is even more intimidating than like the word processor white page, because you could draw anything. And honestly, just screw around with stuff until something looks like something you like, because you're gonna do, and don't worry about ripping people off either. Like it's all you'll develop into your own person over time, but at the most part, you just want to kind of get the basic idea across. And as long as your writing is strong and you're writing good stuff and you're recording good stuff and you're authentic, then it'll grow. People very rarely don't people very rarely have zero growth channels. If you just keep at it, something will happen. It's slow or it's fast. It depends on the day. I still have days where I get like 1 or 2 subscribers the whole day. It's just not like, it's just a thing. Like, it's always moving in an upward direction, and you just have to be consistent, and you just have to kind of keep doing it. And when things are looking really discouraging, don't give up.
One of the things that helped me when I was getting discouraged was I was writing down what I did every day, so I could look back. So even if I was like, man, I feel like I didn't get out as many videos or whatever, I was like, oh, well, I learned Illustrator or After Effects, or I learned this little thing. And because that's so much of it is learning along the way, and you'll see how much you've grown and learned over time. And to me, that was the most helpful. So even if my subscriber count wasn't like going straight up, I know that my skill level was, at least.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is like, and it sucks because YouTube also kind of uses this as well, and that is, you got to stop looking at subscribers as your metric of success. My friend and I, who both have about 11,000 subscribers now, are both trying to, like, as best practice, not look at our subscriber numbers as much as we possibly can. And I think that it makes us feel a lot less stressed out when making stuff.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, anyway, for subscribers is the things that sadly it unlocks. Like if I actually wanted to use the YouTube space, I can't. Or I applied to be a part of NASA Social and my influence isn't high enough to go do that. So that's what sucks to me about the subscriber number, because it unlocks so much stuff for you.
Yeah, I would just say that if you just think about it more and like you're going to get there eventually, it's just a speed thing. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing I would be discouraged about. Like right now, the whole year I've been doing this, my entire thought has been the play button. I want the play button so bad it hurts. And
the diamond one?
No. I'm going to go for the tin one. The idea of the stuff I make getting 1 million subscribers is just not even picturable. But like, I have an idea of making a trophy shelf with the 2 trophies I'll ever have in my life. And one is a participant's trophy when I played t-ball when I was 4, and the YouTube play button, because it's the only awards I'm ever going to get in my life, and I want those 2. And I'm going to have a shelf with it. And I'm now a year in and 11% of the way there. And that's not like, if I were to be like super instant gratification about it, that does feel like, I've still got a long way to go. But I'm just not thinking about that, because I know the play button's going to be here someday. I know I'm going to have that shelf and it's going to be awesome. And, one of these days it'll happen.
It will.
And you're going to take a picture of it and you're going to post it in Slack for all of us to see.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You'll be and maybe I'll even try to get a first on a soliloquy video, and I'll print off the certificate and actually put it on there too.
Yeah. Sorry you joined the Slack so early, so you didn't get a welcome potato either.
Yeah, I actually joined before soliloquy did.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Maybe he'll make me a welcome potato after this, or at least I appreciate that you exist, potato.
Well, we should have a welcome potato for being on the Hangout, I think. He should give you one for that.
There you go. Get on it, John.
Draw Curiosity asked a while ago, what's your favorite post of your, I think favorite part of your creative process or favorite creation that you've made?
Well, I think my favorite videos I've done, now this kind of goes into another part of my activist side, is that I did my American Studies master's degree was on post 9/11 Islamophobia in the US. And I've made 2 videos that have not like directly, but have addressed the issue of Islam and Islamophobia. And I feel like one of them has been a like really powerful magnet for hate and also inspiration. And I really am happy when I get comments on my videos from Muslims saying like, oh my God, like, thank you. Somebody's actually like putting it in a good light. And those 2 videos are the one I'm most proud of. And because the question's from Draw Curiosity, she knows that one of them is pretty, like, she was involved with it. So, and my favorite part of the creative process, I think, is usually when I'm earlier in the process. I really like when everything is still possible. Sometimes animation is rough, but I feel like animation is like one of the most rewarding things that I do, but it's one of the hardest things that I do because it takes so long. But I get genuinely amused by some of the jokes that I make, so I guess I should, like, you know, I enjoy moments of it. But when I'm just like doing the first search for research and I'm reading the books and like thinking of things and maybe writing my first like scrappy script draft, then that's probably the most fun part for me.
So in your process, do you write the script, record the audio, and then animate? Is that?
Yeah, I do. I have to have now with the After Effects stuff and the actual moving animation, I have to have the audio finished first before I can start animating. Before, when I was doing PowerPoint, I could sometimes do the animation before the audio, but the audio is honestly one of the easier parts of making a video. It's not exactly the most fun, but it's one of the easier ones because I actually have a background in audio engineering, and I just need an afternoon where the house is quiet and I can do a video and probably an audio for a video in about an hour.
So do you do like a bunch of takes for it?
Yeah, I basically go through the script until I screw up on something, and then I come back to it later and I clean up stuff to make sure that, you know, all of the sounds that we make when our brain is idling trying to think of something to say, like all the uhs and things like that. But for the most part, it's a process of, you know, I have the way I want to say it, and then like, it's not like I do like multiple like A and B and C takes and then choose the best one. But mostly it's about just getting the right feel, and if I don't like something, I'll go back and fix it, and then tweaking little things afterwards.
Because when I do voiceovers, I find myself sitting there and like being weirdly animated and trying to do a bunch of different takes. So I'm always trying to learn how other people do it.
The hardest part of animating is that the cats think that you're talking to them because there's no one else in the room, and they usually think, they usually want to jump on you or something.
I guess you don't have that. I don't have that problem when there's no cats in the house.
I think we're probably coming up on the last few minutes of this. Is there any other words of wisdom you want to impart, or talk anything more about your process or your channel or your trip?
I would definitely, if you have the ability to, even if you know a guy who knows a guy, the YouTube spaces are pretty good for networking. I thought that the space was a really fun and rewarding experience. I have to see how that experience actually pans out over time. But I think that the main advice I would give to keep you motivated and a good YouTuber is just to build a community around, either build a community around yourself or do what Jacqueline did and, like, you know, make one from scratch and then have like a whole bunch of people come out, because YouTube's one of those things that can be very lonely and very discouraging at some times, and having having the support network has probably kept Step Back going in some of its darker moments.
I think, yeah, that's definitely good advice. And I think it helps you when having this network to bounce stuff off of too. So you're not just talking to cats and being like, do you think that this one looks better than this other one? Or anything like that. I also really like having people to bounce stuff off of. And you guys are very good at that.
Are there any last questions from the chat room?
Let's see.
Just Matt agreeing with you and and Tim being very surprised that it's only been 1 year.
It's good, Matt. I like when people agree with me. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thanks. Yep. Oh, do you want to talk about the ICG from your perspective at all? Because I know people were asking it. Draw Curiosity just joined, but she was asking a bunch of questions about it before.
Sure. I signed up about the first day you could because I thought it was a really good idea. As someone who is very in tune with history and the history of labor, I thought that having a union for YouTube creators where we could like have collective negotiating power with the bosses up in California is really good. So that makes me feel really happy. There's been a lot of really great actionable advice that I've gotten either through the mass emails that we got sent out, the knowledge base that we have, or their Slack. Now their Slack is like, our Slack is like a comfy pub where people hang out and talk to each other. That place is like a giant like lecture hall, or not a lecture hall, but it's just a giant mall of people. And so it's been a great place though when I have a question that only someone with 175,000 subscribers knows about. I went in there when I got harassed by a channel, when I had a channel make basically a hate video about one of my videos. And I went into that Slack channel and asked what to do about it because I basically had like 300 or 400 or 500 hate comments in a day. And
yeah,
I had a few people, especially a lot of, there's like a small hidden channel in there of women creators that said that like they know what this is like, obviously, because it's the internet. So they let me go and see what they were talking about and the kind of things that they deal with it, and it was really, really helpful. And I made some contacts through there that I've been really appreciative of. It's one of those things that I feel like I should spend more time in. I don't. Every time I click on the little thing, I always end up clicking on We Create EDU, and I don't click on the other ones as often as I should.
Well, we appreciate you clicking on We Create EDU and chatting with us in that one.
Yeah, that's my last piece of advice. If you're not part of the We Create EDU community, like if you had just glanced across this and you don't even watch the show, you should watch the show. But even if you don't watch the show, you should try to get involved with the community because it is possibly like, it is like an engine of educational channels helping each other, bouncing off of each other, critiquing each other. Like it is probably one of the best things that's happened to every single channel that's a part of it. I don't know anybody who doesn't feel like they're getting a lot out of it. And it's all because of you guys.
It's all Jacqueline.
Honestly, that really means a lot to me. That people are getting so much out of it, the Slack and everything. And more people are joining, and I'm glad you guys are recommending this to people. I think we've gotten like 4 new members on the Slack. It's open to everybody. ICG, there's a lot more resources and there's bigger creators and costs $60. This is going to be free for everybody forever. So anyone's allowed to join the Slack. Our only rule is you can't be a jerk. If you are, then we kick you out. But other than that, everyone's allowed to join. So I'm glad it's been very helpful for you. And I hope anyone watching this joins. You can just message me your email address and I will add you to the Slack. That's all you have to do. So, Betty, do you have any more questions?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I was just wondering, like, do you have an estimate of how long it takes you to animate something? Or like a video?
The ballpark I'm noticing right now, this is like this is when I first started, so it's like the slowest it'll ever be. It's getting faster as time moves along, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Is about 2 hours per minute. maybe,
Okay.
or maybe an hour per minute.
Mhm.
That's mostly with me figuring out Adobe After Effects, and it's getting faster now, but
Mhm.
I usually give myself about an hour a minute.
Okay. That sounds about right.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I think it, like all the little cool nuggets you put in there really help out too
Oh yeah,
throughout the video.
I am a huge fan of rewatching movies and rewatching stuff, and so I love to put stuff in my videos
Mhm.
for the eagle-eyed or the rewatcher, because I'm always like, okay, no one's gonna get this one, no one's gonna find this one, and someone always finds it, and it's
Yeah.
great. It makes me so happy. And I even have tried in the past, and I might do more to like implement like ARG stuff into it. So like maybe have some like hidden puzzles and things like that that people could decode to find the topic of the next video or something like that.
That'd be really cool. That's a lot of work, but I think definitely worth it. It makes your videos more exciting and more community engagement rather than just sitting there listening. So I think
Yeah,
that's a
I
really
love my
good.
subscribers, and anything I can do to make their watching my videos a more fun experience, because like, you know, there's the education, there's the content, but also like anything I can do to make it a little bit more fun, I'll do it.
Well, I
Awesome.
don't have any more questions from the chat. So, do you have any final words?
Oh my, this is a lot. Put me on the spot here. When it comes to making it to 10K or doing videos or starting a channel, just keep in mind that I did it, and I was someone who was like destined to be homeless about maybe a decade ago. So there is always a second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth chance at success, and just kind of even if it's just moderate success. Like there's always a way to do stuff, and just kind of always be looking for the next out.
I think
Fantastic.
that excellent advice to end on. And as you've seen this whole time, his Twitter handle has been under his name. So if you guys have more questions, you can reach him there. And that's, I believe there's links to your channel in the description below. So if somehow you haven't found his channel already, please click on that, go over there, check out some of his videos. Thank you
Oh, yeah.
so much.
Stepbackhistory.com is like the domain I got. Sorry, I
Perfect.
ruined your whole outro.
No, it wasn't scripted. It's okay. But yeah, did you just get a website, or have you had it for a while?
I've had a website for a while, but I bought a domain when I was making this card, because
Oh, okay.
Inés had a website that was much better than mine, and I felt jealous.
That is a very good reason. So that I will put links to that also in the description, so anyone that finds this later can check it out. And if you're listening to the podcast, it'll be in the show notes. So thanks so much for coming on, and I hope that you come on again for a couple more hangouts in the future.
Sure, I'd love to. Just let me know. These nights are pretty good.
Awesome.
So, and thanks, Betty, for coming on too.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, one quick announcement. I do not think we'll have another hangout in October unless somebody else can be the moderator. So we will probably meet again in the beginning of November. So.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for hanging out with us in the chat. And we will see you in November.
My birthday's in November. It'll be fun.
Oh, happy almost birthday.